Hi, and welcome to your Craftbox episode from July 8th, 2018. Today, I'm going to really focus on an opinion piece that occurred in front of the Sunday Review section, written by Tayari Jones. So, Tayari Jones is a novelist who recently has gotten a lot of praise for her novel An American Marriage. And in that novel, a relationship is split up when a black man is falsely accused and incarcerated. So that's related to the topic that she writes about today, in that she's reviewing / using a book review as a launch for an opinion piece about a collection of Nelson Mandela's letters from prison that have just been released. So there's a couple of things that are really impressive about this piece of writing that she's done. One of the big things that's super impressive is that she has used this book review to find a connection to what's happening in our lives now. Regularly, when people are writing about literature, one of the more really powerful things that you can do as an English student when you're writing about literature is to find some connection with what's happening in our world now and think about how these pieces of literature really connect to what's happening in the world and how you're currently making sense of humanity. So we really see Tayari Jones doing that in this piece. So I'm going to really highlight a specific way that she does that a little farther down in the article. So she says, when we scroll all the way down here, in two key paragraphs, she says, somehow we've chosen to laud Mr. Mandela's capacity for forgiveness without dwelling on what he actually forgave. So one of the things I really like in terms of the craft of this sentence is the way that it sort of sets up two opposing ideas in the sentence with the word forgiveness. So when she says, somehow we've chosen to laud Mr. Mandela's capacity for forgiveness, she's really speaking of how he's become a kind of hero for us, of someone who is not a corrupt leader. But how much, when we're thinking about him, are we thinking about the corruption that he had to overcome in the apartheid government? And so that's what she's referencing when she says in the second half, without dwelling on what he actually forgave. So this move between using the same word to point out differences in terms of using the word forgiveness and forgave really resonates a lot with a reader. For whatever reason, when that happens, it signals something in your reader to kind of pause and think. And in this case, we're thinking about how much he's a hero, but at the same time, how we're not really thinking about the conditions that provided him with an opportunity to show us his heroism. So she's already in this sentence beginning to think about corruption, beginning to think about apartheid, shifting us away from Mr. Mandela, the person, and towards the conditions that he was living in. And she's going to continue that into the next paragraph. And this paragraph has the sentence that the New York Times led with as their pull quote. Separating a person from his kin is the ultimate expression of state power. Many of these letters that the Times actually published in excerpts, ranging from 1969 all the way over to 1979, in this 10-year time span that he was incarcerated, are really expressions of the pain and suffering that he was enduring, not being there for his children's upbringing, not being there to support his wife. So this is a place where Jones really highlights how this book of letters published so long ago is resonating with her in our current political moment. When she says separating a person from his kin is the ultimate expression of state power, it really is resonating a lot with how many of the headlines we've been seeing where at our borders children are being separated from their parents as they try to immigrate to the United States without proper documentation or illegally. So there's this opportunity both to discuss this work of literature, but there's also an opportunity to discuss how these things that we find in this literature are echoing out into our modern context, which is a really powerful move that an author can make. And she's doing that through really strong statements like this: separating a person from his kin is the ultimate expression of state power. Really a kind of criticism of any kind of state that would do that, any kind of government that would do that. And then this really powerful sentence here where she plays off the word forgiveness, encouraging us to think not just of Mr. Mandela himself, but also of the corruption that he was able to endure. So that's this week's Craftbox. Hope you found it helpful and enjoy the rest of your week.